Welcome to the Edifying TV Business Spotlight series, where I, your host, CF Jackson, get to bring to you some of the most inspiring and informative guests. And today is no different. Today we have with us Nisa Shepherd, founder of Miracle Moments. Nisa was born with esophageal atresia, which meant her esophagus was disconnected from her stomach. From the first day of her life, she survived many hardships, which included heart valve surgeries and having to be on a feeding tube for the first 5 years of her life. Looking back over her life, she realized that her entire existence was a miracle. This prompted her to launch Miracle Moments. Nia's goal is to inspire others to use their voice no matter what situations they face throughout life. They can make it and realize that any moment in life is their miracle moment. Welcome, Nisa, to the Idefine TV Business Spotlight series.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. This is an honor and a privilege to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you because of the fact that you have most times we look at birth in itself as being a miracle in itself. But however, your situation was much more, it was an obstacle for you to overcome and really create another miracle upon that being such a little tiny new birth in this place called Earth. Tell us a little bit about this order that you had and why did it happen and how did you transpire from little by little by how you was able to overcome it.
Okay, so the diagnosis that I had was esophageal atresia, where your stomach and your esophagus is not connected. So this was discovered about day two or day one of when I was born. So the doctor at the time noticed it, told my parents about what was going on, and then they got in contact with a children's hospital in Duke that specialized in children's care, and they sent me to Duke with it was just me and the transporters at that time. My parents did not go, so there they did the procedure to reconnect my stomach to my esophagus.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Sometimes we look at life and sometimes people overlook the miracles. Again, every life is a miracle and every day thereafter. But here you are, new to the world, having to come to the world already just being present, but then you had this new thing you had to kind of combat. So you were already coming into the space ready to throw some boxing, you ready to fight it
yeah.
and come some stuff. And
Came
how
in the world fighting.
how was your family? How was the family handling this situation? Especially your mom, sure, carrying you for the 9 months and seeing her newborn, having to come out with something as challenging as this. How was her position? How was her faith going through this time?
Her faith during this time was very strong, grounded and rooted in Christ, knowing that no matter what situation happened with me, that God was going to bring them through. I'm actually working on a book about my life, so I've been doing interviews with them and getting down to the nitty gritty of their perspective, asking those hard questions that, every child that goes through a situation like this may be wondering. And I'm just getting point of views from both parents, what their emotional state was during that time, and then I'm also interviewing my siblings to see what their thoughts were on that. So basically, they were rooted in God and knowing that holding on to their faith was going to carry them through, and of course, the prayers of the church and
Yeah.
praying daily, day in and day out.
Now, as you was going through this in terms, I'm sure as you got later on, like maybe 5 years old, do you have recollections of how you were feeling at this point in your younger time when you was overcoming and healing and having each day, each breath you was having was miracle moments, but how did you feel during that time when you were having more memory of that time period?
As I continue to look back on it, I
Mhm.
do realize that it wasn't, I would say it wasn't easy, but with the help of God, I definitely overcame. I remember having my feeding tube for up to 5 years,
Yeah.
not being able to eat solid foods. I
Wow.
would have to have people feed me through the feeding tube.
Yeah.
So what they did was my feeding tube was connected to my stomach, was in my stomach, and they would have to pour the liquid down the feeding tube. And
Wow.
that's how I was able to get the nutrients that I needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, let me ask you this talk. How was you? Were you really excited when you had your first bite of chicken or
Oh
spaghetti
my
or
Lord, let me tell
pizza,
you, chicken is
candy?
one of my favorite foods ever. I love it. Now I'm a I'm more of a snacker.
Uh-huh.
I love to eat. Chicken is one of my favorites. Seafood is another. So I'm like, Lord, thank you for having all, being able to get my esophagus reconnect to my stomach,
Yeah.
removing the feeding tube. I mean, whew, I love to eat. Okay.
The whole of the world for you at this point in time. I mean, like,
Oh
man, I
my
can
goodness, you
actually.
have no idea.
I
You have no idea.
can't imagine you said it's like, man, I bet she was excited at 5 or 6 or 7, just really like, you probably like a, like a little termite killing the
Yeah,
house now.
I will share this with you.
Uh-huh.
I was talking to with one of my siblings, and during her interview, I do remember when I was with my sisters and my god sister and my godparents at that time. So they felt like me having my esophagus, having my tube,
Mhm.
was pretty interesting. So what they did was they gave me, I think it was an Oreo,
Mhm.
knowing that I could not have solid foods, right?
Uh-huh.
So they felt like it was a game. So that was entertainment for them. And I'm like, really, y'all? I was entertainment for y'all. So and when that happened,
Yeah.
my tube would burst. So I would have to get it changed if I had either solid foods or my stomach would get full, my tube would bust, and I
Oh.
would have to get that changed.
Leave the young folks. They're gonna push the envelope with something. Let's try this.
Try anything on the young one, right?
Yes. Wow. But you say that because one of my first jobs that I had, at first I was kind of disappointed because I didn't have a paying job, but I ended up being a candy striper at the Children's Hospital where I grew up. And it was one of the most fulfilling jobs that I ever had because of the fact that I'm sure I can relate to what you're saying. A lot of kids, parents weren't there 24/7. So when I came in, that was their face they get to see every day. I get to play with
Mm-hmm.
them. I get to be their playmate, their friend, and all that. So I can only imagine not having your parents there on a daily because you're there. You pretty much that's your living quarters because until you get everything resolved. And I remember this one little kid, James, to this day, I won't forget James. He didn't speak, but I became one of his favorite. And he wouldn't eat when his family come, but I would feed him. So I always think about you just never know because when children are in children's hospital, they have become to know that as their space of home because they're there all the time. That's their norm, being there. And granted, the children's hospital has some great video games. They had a lot of toys. So I didn't mind playing video games with a little boy either. Hey, I am 16, about 15 playing video games. Like, let's go play some video games, James. It's free. But I'm sure you was able to get past that and then evolve. So was there anything after everything get resolved at 5? Were you still have anything lingering in terms of your elementary going into your early teens that still had to be, looked after, or were you just completely healed after that?
For a while, I was good. Now, last year, I did have like an episode where every time I would eat or swallow, like like drink, have something to drink or something to eat, it would hurt going down. And then I would also have like a little cough. Well, I did go and get it, saw the doctor about it. Come to find out, my esophagus was narrow going down. So recently, I did have to have a procedure where they stretched my esophagus
Oh wow.
because it was narrow and the food wasn't going down as properly as it needed to go down. So therefore, they did do a procedure that allowed them to stretch my esophagus.
Wow. So had that been your first procedure since your younger day into now? Had that been the first time you had some type of
Actually, yeah, and it was an outpatient, but yeah, that was come to think of it, yeah, connected to my stomach. So 35 years later,
yeah.
you know, I had
Wow.
to, and I forgot what the procedure was called, but yeah, I had to, and yep, but thank God it went well, and
Yeah.
I'm believing God that it won't come up again, that all will be well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Let me ask you this because I love the name Miracle Moments. Do you feel that many people forget that they are a miracle, or do this, or we sometimes people take life as for granted because you get here, you're living life, you're living your best life, but sometimes they forget that they are a miracle and that you say that moments are miracles in itself. But do you think that you see that in terms of where we are today?
Honestly, I do. I do feel like people don't realize their miracle moment that they experienced in their life.
Yeah.
Because now that one day I was recording a video and I was saying every moment in life is your miracle moment.
Yeah.
And it's a profound statement because you don't realize that every moment in life is indeed your miracle moment because it's a miracle just going from the kitchen to the living room. And it's a
Mhm.
miracle just going from your house to the grocery store because anything can happen, but God allows us that miracle moment to go forth to the next stage of what we have to do in that day
Yeah.
or in that moment. So it's very important to realize, even just by us communicating, this is a miracle moment because something could have happened to me earlier, something could happen to you earlier, something could have happened with the technology. But for us to be here, it is a miracle moment in itself.
Yeah. That's interesting that because sometimes I think people have a challenge of recognizing those moments. Do you think
Mhm.
people miss those moments? Again, I guess they just kind of like taking this for granted. Oh, I can get up and go to walk into the kitchen. I remember myself. I was it 2 years ago. I had fractured my ankle. Now I think I
Mm,
took those moments as in terms of just happenstance. But when I couldn't
yeah,
walk, I had to be on the crutches, had the boot and everything.
yeah,
And now I recognize I got to hobble over there, jump from side to side to cook dinner and all this other stuff. And you recognize that to revamp how I did life because of the fact that what I took is walking and having both feet.
mm,
I couldn't for the first 6 weeks use the other foot because I had to make sure I stayed off of it. So you do kind of look back like, oh my goodness, I had 2 feet, for the first 10 years of my life. Now I got one, and I'm hopping back in the mag. I must say though, that right leg got the calf was banging, that right hamstring was banging. 'Cause I was hopping on it left and right. But you think people kind of like forget that, how can they recognize them? Do you have any insight of how can somebody come to recognize their miracle moments as they go about their day?
one way of recognizing their miracle moment in their day is to just take a moment, take a second just to sit back, reflect on how you how you are in the place that you're in. Like, okay, God, it wasn't me that got me here, but it was you. So it's
Mhm.
I was listening to a pastor at one point and he was saying, we take like the simplest things for granted,
Mhm.
like speech. And it's important to remember that God allows us every moment, every second of our breath that he gives us,
Mhm.
it's a miracle. So we should, thank him for it because he didn't have to allow us to either speak, walk, do all the tasks that we're doing. And then
Yeah.
sometimes we forget to thank him for it. So it's important just to take a minute, reflect, and just, even though sometimes it's hard because
Mhm.
we're in a fast pace and moving, moving,
And that
moving,
right.
going, going, going.
Yeah.
So it's just important to just take a moment, take a second, and just like, God, thank you for this moment because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't be able to go like I'm going.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. I
I like
mean,
that.
yeah, that's my advice to
Yeah, I like that.
recognize your miracle moment in your life.
Let me change you on this right here though. Now, have
Uh-huh.
you recognize that sometimes people allow others or they allow their miracle moments to be overshadowed by others' beliefs and opinions. So you may have that miracle moment and all of a sudden somebody swoops in and try to shadow, or they do shadow that moment because they have their disbelief, they have their negativity. Have you seen that or recognized or you've seen that happen to people? Because that could
That
be,
can be very true. And I would say this, nobody's miracle moment is higher than another's.
yeah, of course.
Everybody's miracle moment is their journey and their own miracle moment. And it's special to them. So even in those moments, I would advise them to realize that their miracle moment is their miracle moment, and don't allow anybody to overshadow, because everybody has experienced a miracle moment in life,
Mm.
whether they recognized it or not.
Yeah. It's so funny you
So,
say that. Back in the day when I lived in Chapel Hill, Carborough, and this
mhm,
is a long time ago, and I was heading from work, and I was heading home to storming one day, and I had got my money at home, and so I was driving along the way, and wasn't driving fast because it was storming, and I wasn't
mhm,
far, maybe a few yards, few feet from where I turned into my apartment complex, and I had stopped on the brakes. I had no reason to stop for my sake, I would say, stop on the brakes, and then when I stopped on the brakes a tree fell in front of me.
oh wow,
And I'm like, oh, okay. So at this point, my nervous shock, like, oh my gosh, the tree fell in front of me. And then there's no lights on the road. So I had to cross over into oncoming traffic because at this point, the tree is in front of me. Now I had to go
wow,
around and I'm already nervous that the tree had fallen in front of me. So I get around, get home, had no food in the house, but I was hungry as all get out. But the hunger kind of dissipated because I was like, I'm not going back out there. And then the
yeah,
next day when I was heading out to go, well, maybe to work or just be out, I saw the tree laying in the street. I'm kind of like, you know, a miracle. Like I'm sitting there looking like that was amazing. And to this day, I love those moments. It doesn't have to be words, but I just remind myself of situations that has transpired. Like, remember that tree fell in front of you and you had no reason to stop on your brakes that landed, boom. But no one can tell me anything different that there are miracles happening every second of the day. You just got to be aware of them and appreciate them, you know?
yeah, yeah, you do.
Wow. And
Big or small, big or small,
exactly.
appreciate every miracle. Like
And
you were just talking about the tree. You, that's a whole miracle in itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remind myself, and sometimes you have to go back and remind yourself of those things, and just don't forget about them because like I said, your miracle is your miracle. Now,
Hmm.
as you launched your Miracle Moments LLC. How did that come about? What made you do that, and when did you start that?
So I actually launched this January actually.
Okay.
So I was listening to this pastor, and he said, "All you may have is a name, and
Mm,
that's all you may have." So I've been for a while now. I've been wanting to start it, but
mm,
I'm like, you know how we as people we let fear grip us and just stay stagnant.
mm,
So in my mind, I was thinking, I was like, okay, so by my 34th, 35th birthday, I want to have my business started.
yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm like a week away and I have not yet done anything.
Uh-oh.
So, but after I heard him, that was like another confirmation that I had.
Mm,
He was like, all you may have is a name,
mm,
but go ahead and start,
boom.
and God will provide the rest. So I was like, okay, so I didn't do it that Sunday after I heard it, but then I was talking to another person and they asked me, it was like, well, what's your goals for this year? What's your goals for this month?
Mm.
So I was like telling them about what I wanted to do. I was like, they were like, well, what's stopping you? I was like, well, okay, that's like third confirmation. So that evening, I went and applied. It was a Monday. I applied for my LLC and got approved 2 days later on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I was like sitting in it for a couple of days. I was like, oh wow,
That's it.
this is for real. So yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, even though I'm still promoting, doing what I got to do for my business,
Yeah.
but I'm still learning that this itself was a miracle. Launching Miracle Moments was a miracle for
Mhm.
me, and it just amazes me, you know, how God sends you those confirmations and you let fear ease off, even though sometimes you're still gonna have fear try to grip you, but you
Yeah.
know you have to keep pushing forward and know that God is for you and nothing or nobody can be against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first step. You're hearing it, understanding clearly. You ask the question. It's the key of asking the right questions. And then when you don't be, you're gonna have a little timidness, a little fear when you hear
Mhm.
the answer. I
Yeah.
remember in 2003 when I was like, okay, I started the year off about what's my purpose? And then I am awakened from a nap, had the title of my novel and a book and everything. And before I did that, I'm like, oh, I don't have time to write a book. I'm going back and forth. And I hear you say you want to know what your purpose is, write the book. I'm like, okay, you're doing too much around
Mm,
these parts, but get up. And then that was my first step into entrepreneurship is following suit. And everything you start does not have to be the beginning and the end all. It's going to continue to evolve. Like as we grew, as you grew, so with the idea, so with the blessings, so with,
you're right.
miracles each miracle is going to bring another miracle. So that's the first step, the miracle moments. I like it. It really sings a lot for, it can be so many things, where it could be of value to others to help them be encouraged and be inspired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because my name actually means miracle of God.
Mm,
Nisa means miracle of God, and that stuck with me for a while. So I was like thinking of different business names. And I'm like something that embodies me, something that is
mm,
who I am.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, miracle moments. So I was
Mm,
like, it's perfect. And then again, I wanted it to be a little different. So
yeah.
instead of using the regular way of spelling miracle,
Yeah.
I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I
Yeah.
just did the Mirakul. So yeah.
Nice. And you see, not like at the time when once it started flourishing and growing, you started hearing a little more clear. You started having a little fun with it, playing around with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, what do you do? Tell people what is Miracle Moments? What do you do at LLC? What do you do with the business? How can you help people and serve
It's a
people?
business. So I'm a North Carolina notary.
Okay.
I create graphic logos, customize letterheads, business cards.
Wow.
Let's see what else. Jeez, I don't know why all of a sudden I want to go. My mind wants to go blank, but yeah, I do business cards, custom letterheads, PowerPoint presentations,
Hmm.
and
Flyers too?
content creation.
Hmm.
Content creation with social media, and so much more that's gonna come. So yeah, that's a few things that I do. I don't know why in the world my
That's
mind wants
okay.
to go blank right now, because normally I can spit it out just like that, but for some reason it just wants to. But anyway, but those are some of the things that Miracle Moments does
Okay.
at the moment. But we are looking to venture off into some other things. So yeah, stay tuned, guys.
Wow. But it's okay because it's the QR code right below. They can scan it and go straight over to your website, see some of your creatives and reach out and connect with you on social media as well as inquire about how you can serve them in terms of graphics, logos, and all the great stuff in terms of the creative space. Because we are in the creative space, no matter what we look at, is it maybe in the physical part, is it graphics, is it videos, but we're just in this place where everything is creative and content. We got to have something that speaks to the masses because we're constantly digesting and consuming content every single day.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Nice. So we're coming to a close, but I'm gonna ask you this. So how much faith and self-belief does a person need to have, to create those miracle moments? You think, is it something that they're in line with, coming tapped into? What is it that you believe as you go through your day that you're aligning yourself to have that self-belief and faith to allow those miracle moments to be created that's positive?
Repeat the question one more time. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was asking how much faith and self-belief that you believe is a factor in allowing or creating those miracle moments, in terms of being a creator of those miracle moments. What do you do through your day to allow those miracle moments to come into existence? Sometimes people can allow people to shadow them, but what do you do to allow your miracle moments to come to the surface for you, your faith, your belief, and all that good stuff?
What I do, one of the things I continue to stay prayerful, allow God to order my steps for the day and who I may need to come in contact with for that day to allow a miracle moment to happen. Because, along throughout the day, you never know who may need uh, a kind word, a smile, because you never know what they're going through. And
Yeah.
that in itself could be their miracle moment, or paying for somebody's lunch, or just taking a moment just to allow somebody to speak because they may need to vent.
That's true.
So, and you know, like it's like you just need the faith the size of a mustard seed. So you have that little bit of faith and allow God to do the rest.
Wow, that's it. Being pretty much, it sounds like you pretty much being in the presence. Because I was listening to somebody, someone saying, oftentimes people spend a lot of their times in the past and in the future. But really, to
Mm-hmm.
create those miracle moments is being in the present and allowing the present to be a manifester of those miracle moments, and you be a seed of someone else's miracle. Because we all tie together. If anything,
Yeah,
if anybody paid attention, COVID, I hope people have paid attention how intertwined we are globally, not just in your household, not just down the street or just in this country, but globally. It really was a moment to where we were all showing, to me, it showed me how intertwined we really are as a world, and people I think people overlook that. I don't think, I think maybe I'm, speak for myself, I may have overlooked it, knew about it, but I really, really, really put a thumbprint on it when I saw the whole COVID situation.
yeah. I would say to that COVID situation, it was definitely a moment that you cannot forget, because when isolation started, you know, if you're a person that loves to hug, interact with other
Yeah,
people, it's like, oh my lord, I'm a hugger. Why can't we hug? I mean, come on now. It's like, I know you, you know me, you know.
yeah,
But in that time, it was just definitely something you had to reevaluate. You had to think about, okay, this is how the world is now compared to what it was. So you can't take what you used to do for granted, because
yeah,
when you could no longer hug people, hug your loved ones, I mean, it to me, honestly, I wasn't happy about it, because I had older aunts and uncles that, you know,
yeah,
I used to see on a regular, that I couldn't hug like I used to. I couldn't be with them like I used to be
yeah,
because of COVID. And you miss that time with your family that you would have had if it wasn't for COVID. But
yeah,
thank God we made it to the other side, and
yeah.
we can continue to keep pressing on, because that was our miracle moment. So, you know,
A lot of
you
them.
gotta
Yeah.
keep going, keep pressing.
Awesome. Well, I mean, Isa, we have come to the ending in a minute or less. Did you want to share one last piece of a miracle moment message that you want to share with the viewers that, hey, again, make sure you chime in and scan the QR code, connect with her. But any last words you want to say in a minute or less to let our viewers know that they are important?
Yes. Just remember that you are loved, you are important, God loves you, and every moment in life is your miracle moment.
Boom, she said it. It's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you for
Thank
allowing me to
you.
have this honor to share your story, your message, and to enlighten and inspire my viewers. Again, this is CF Jackson with iDefineTV.com, and we are out of here.